Hey guys, Steve here from Holding Vigo County Accountable. Today I had an opportunity to sit with Brendan Kearns and to get some feedback on some of the local projects that are going on. Two major ones that I want to ask Brendan about are the jail and then of course the convention center. These are the two hot topics in our society at the moment,
unfortunately.
And so let's start off with the jail.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about the process, what's going on. We recently saw that you came across as upset on a new local news interview.
I've been upset for years, Stevie.
So tell us what about the jail process is currently bothering you, and then also after that we'll move on to the convention center.
Just for timing's sake, I attended the commissioners meeting this morning too. My plan was. Well, I plan on going to all the commissioner meetings the rest of the year because I'm going to be a commissioner January 1st.
Right.
So I went today. My plan was to observe and not say anything, but that's one thing I struggle with is not saying anything. So I addressed my concerns about the IP property location. That's a property that people commonly think of as along the river. It is not along the river. It's near the river. It's the high ground where the property drops off. There's the ground in between the IP property, the 64 acres there, and the river is owned by another entity. So it's not on the river. It's not along the river. It's nearby. But my concern is that that property was purchased by the county commissioners for around $500,000 from an investor in Florida. The investor bought that property when we had the sludge to diesel fiasco going, another one of our shining moments within the county. That investor was burned. He wasn't paying his taxes. He didn't want the property. It came up for sale. A few of us encouraged the county commissioners to purchase that with edit funds. There's plenty of money there. And the hopes would be that we would take that property and market it to somebody, maybe a concert promoter, an amusement park, develop it into an extension of Fairbanks Park, you know, something for the good of the public, and the commissioners were on board. Well, after it was purchased, about 3-4 months later, the county commissioner said that that's their site location for the new jail. And that upset me, it upset a lot of people. And that's where I really started getting involved in this, was because I thought everything about that was wrong. Well, we fought it. A lot of people stood up and said, bad idea. The county commissioners listened. And then in March or May, I forget which month it was, they said, we're not moving forward with this. The people have spoken, we're not going to do it. And then we find out yesterday, ironically, I was on the river all day yesterday for work and had just an amazing day. On the way home, my phone's blowing up with people. Have you seen the news? And, no. And they made the announcement that they're going to push forward with the IP property along the river, near the river. And yeah, you know, you touched on my interview with THI and where I said I'm pissed. I am pissed. I'm pissed and I'm disappointed in that I thought the commissioners listened to the people. They decided we need to do something else with that property, which was a shining moment for our community. And then they're saying, no, now this is where we're going to put it.
So it seems that there's other people out there that, and just to recap on what took place in that particular meeting, they mentioned 3 or 4 sites that were a possibility as options.
There's been at least 7 sites, 3 of them I brought to the commissioners as an alternative. Because I'm a firm believer, if you fight something, you need to be able to provide an alternative solution. So I'm not going to say what those locations are, but they were viable locations. Where I want it built is where it is. I mean, that's the most logical place for it.
So for the record, I'm kind of getting educated along with you guys as we're going through this. If it were to get built where it's at,
sure,
what would happen with the inmates while it's being built?
Well, you build it at a different spot. So
parking lot.
Yeah, there was an argument that there's not enough parking. So on a Sunday, I forget when I did this, There's a video online about it. On a Sunday, I walked that whole parking lot and I counted how many spots there were. And then I went back on Monday, did the same math. I was told the busiest day, I think it was like on a Wednesday, maybe at 1 o'clock or something. That's when public defender, or not public, when the jury selection, with talking with county employees, they said this is your busiest time. And I got to watch the video again to refresh it. But I went and I counted all the spots, and just doing the quick, easy math, there's plenty of parking there. People don't want to walk. Crossing First Street, crossing Ohio, man, you're putting your life in your own hands. Because as you know, people don't drive anymore. What they do is they get in their car and they do this.
Sure.
So it's just too dangerous to cross. So there would be an inconvenience if you build a new facility. But here's the catch. The commissioners are trying to build the most efficient facility, and I applaud them for that. They're saying now, and studies show this, that a one-story pod system is the most efficient. So I'm not a jail expert. I've done some research, but yeah, that makes sense. In order to build what they feel is best, you need acreage. You need a flat, wide open area to build this facility. It can't go where it is. In order for the jail to go where I would like to see it, it's got to be multi-story. But I haven't seen an option or an alternative plan. I want a plan presented that shows that we can build something there, and then we compare those two. We compare the plan for where it is now at the government campus by the courthouse, and then we compare that to another facility that's going to require off-site transportation. Lots of conversations today about the courts by video. Indiana State Supreme Court, as I understand it, has concerns about that. They say it's not constitutional. Nothing's been ruled on it. So I would hate for us to build a jail off-site under the auspices that we're going to do telecommunications for court hearings for the Supreme Court, then to say you can't do that, because then wow, we've really messed up.
Sure.
The new one of the plans for the new jail, as I've been told by Commissioner, as of this morning and before too, they're going to incorporate at least one courtroom in there. But I think you have 7 or 8 courts. Not all those courts deal with those type of cases, but there's a lot of uncertainty with me, and that's probably annoying to your viewers because I'm a county official. In the county commissioners meeting, I reiterated that if you guys would include me in on this process, then I'd have a better understanding. And that's one of the challenges that we have within Vigo County. There are people that have good plans, but they don't bring other players to the table because it's a self-interest game. Or maybe it's just because they don't understand the value of doing this. Spin it however we want. The fact is, the right people are not being brought to the table. Every county council member, there are 7 of us, should have been included in these discussions. Not based on a little committee where we're relying on 2 or 3 council members to share with us. We should all be invited. We should be invited and encouraged to attend the hearings with the federal judge. There was a county council member at a public forum last week. You attended it and streamed it live. Thanks for doing that. Where this incumbent council member said that the federal judge said that we have to have a site picked by October 15th. Well, I read the 3-page document. I don't know if you have, but nowhere in there does it say that you have to have a site picked. Nowhere. It says that you have to have a plan in place for something, but first and foremost, you have to provide more recreation time for the inmates. Mm-hmm. Nothing said October 15th deadline. So then we get these scare tactics in place. All it takes is one person to hear that, and they go on social media and they say, well, the judge says we have to do this. It's the same thing that happened 2 Februarys ago when they're saying that the federal judge said, you have to build a jail. The federal judge never said that.
I know some people that are viewing then may wonder, so currently you are a county councilman.
I am.
You are soon to be a county commissioner. Your position currently is not that you're against the jail, you're just against doing something without a plan more in place.
Oh, sure. I've accepted the fact that we need a new jail. And we need a new jail because, there's no other way to put it. The other one was not taken care of. Whether by design or unintentional, it was neglected. When I went on a tour of the jail in 2016, and you know, I'm being shown leaky pipes. Well, I watched a video where somebody went through there in late 2017, almost a year to the date that I toured it, and those same pipes are still leaking. As a county council member, we provide quite an amount of money to maintaining the county buildings. Why are those pipes still leaking? Why are the doors on backwards on the second floor of the jail from the day when they opened up that new facility in 2001? It doesn't make sense. Why are we talking about a building that was built in 2001, not too long ago? Most of us are driving cars that old, and not our classic car, but our everyday car that's in better shape than what that building is. They didn't maintain it.
Sure.
So by it not being maintained, I can cast blame all day long as to whose fault that is, but right now it doesn't matter. The fact is it's in bad shape. What concerns me is that in a meeting I asked the commissioners, what are your plans with the current facility? And they said that we need to use it for storage. Well, I mean, I just had to send off an 8 terabyte drive that crashed because that's what I store my stuff on. I use my iPhone to scan documents. If I get something in the mail that I need to keep, I scan it and I get rid of that paper, I recycle it. We can do the exact same thing with all of our county records, except for ones where law says we have to have the paper facsimiles. We don't need to take an albatross of a building that supposedly has roof issues, water issues. It's expensive to operate utility-wise and make that a storage facility. That's stupid. I want the building tore down. If we're going to build a new facility off-site, bulldoze that albatross and make it green space or something if you're not going to build a jail there. So as far as the county council, though, I voted against the 0.75 tax for a multitude of reasons, mainly because we can't afford it. What I was good with was a 0.2 tax. A 0.2, and I really wasn't good with it, but I recognized that we needed to do something. So a 0.2 additional income tax to take us from 1.25 where we are now to 1.45. It's still a hit, but it's not as big of a hit. That should provide enough funding to build a facility that we need. But we had to throw in this other stuff, and we did that, so I call it a poison pill. They said that if we increase it, we're going to provide funding to volunteer fire departments and the police departments. And I saw a red flag right off the bat. I live in Limberlost, so the Sealyville services my fire district. Under that 0.75, they're only going to get like $1,600. And I may have to correct that by looking it up later. The city of Terre Haute was going to get, what, $4 to $5 million? Honey Creek Fire Department, they were getting a lot of money, $600-something, whereas West Terre Haute was getting a kick, like less than 50 grand. So the people in West Terre Haute in that fire district that could really use the money, they weren't getting anything. Otter Creek, nothing. But
so who makes the decision as to how that's
state?
Gotcha.
See that public safety tax. Here's something that really torques me too. A lot of stuff torques me. The money for the city is supposed to go towards fire and safety. Well, fire and police, public safety. The mayor said that they're going to be better budget-wise because of that money from the public safety tax. So instead of taking that money, that $4 to $5 million a year, and adding it on top of the budget that they already get, to buy new fire trucks, to buy new canines, bulletproof vests, ammo, weapons, cars, what's he doing? Nothing. He's taking that money and saying that helps relieve pressure on other departments. That money should have gone on top of that. So the police and firefighters that were out there, some of them were mad at me because I wasn't supportive of this. I hope they understand now that they got screwed. Because that money is not going to them. Technically it is, but all it's doing is covering the same budget that they had before. They're not taking that money and investing it properly where it's supposed to go. Do you follow me? Am I articulating that right?
To some degree.
Okay.
And I think there's...
I'm not using the whiteboard.
That's all right. Where can we, the community, go to find this information out? What's a good resource?
Gateway.
And tell us a little bit, what is Gateway?
Gateway Indiana is a database that shows you how all tax monies are distributed, how the taxes come in. I was online looking up something last night about litter ordinance for a guy, one of my neighbors who's doing a great job, Kevin Rogers, on picking up trash and creating awareness. And I found a new system within the Department of Revenue that shows how much sales tax is collected per county and how it's redistributed. I didn't know it was there. As a person in charge of your money, I probably shouldn't admit that, but I'm learning still. But yeah, I mean, Google's an amazing tool. Just whatever you search, like, if you want to see sales tax, Vigo County, Indiana, do that, and you'll be surprised what comes up.
So maybe on another segment, when you have more time, maybe we'll do an interview where we can teach how to use this.
But here's some key things with the jail. The process was flawed from day one. The public was not included like they should. And it's very easy to cast aspersions and say, hey, look, people screwed up. And what makes this easy is the fact that people did screw up. It was handled wrong from day one. We have to build a jail. I don't want it along the IP property when there's other locations that are better for it. That IP property is prime for development. 64 acres. How many acres do you have for your Top Guns facility?
5, call it.
Okay. You imagine what you can do with some kind of gun, outdoor enthusiast property. Wow. You have 64 acres given to you to have the best shooting range.
Sure.
Wouldn't that be neat?
Yeah, of course.
And that's something the county can do. The county owns it. If a business wants to come in here and they say, we've got this great plan, will you work with us? Then you say, absolutely, here's the land.
So let's switch gears.
Okay.
Let's talk about the convention center. I know that's a very hot topic for everyone. I think across the board, when we ran our poll, the numbers came back for the jail. The numbers came back that the majority of people were in favor of building a jail. They just weren't in favor of financing it the way that it was financed. But the majority of the people were in favor of building a jail.
Do you know how much money that took out of our economy per year, what the estimate is?
No, how much?
$15 million. $15 million a year. That 0.75 is an additional $15 million.
Really?
And here's something that the average household income in West Terre Haute is $18,500. Okay? That 0.75% isn't there.
Right.
1% of that is $185. So quick, easy math, 0.75 is about $150. That's the cell phone bill for a couple months or a month.
Sure.
It's car insurance. It's food. The same theory goes with a household that's $100,000 a year. Just because a person's making $100,000 a year doesn't mean they have any money.
Right.
So you're going to pull $750 out of the economy. That's money that they may donate to United Way. That's money they may give to their church. That's money that, in my case, will go to your daughter's education. And that's what really pisses me off. That I look at this personally. I have a 6-year-old girl that we're invested in big time. We're putting money away for her for college. That 0.75 out of the Kearns family household is some money.
Sure.
Okay? Doesn't matter how much money we make, it's money. It's the percentage that goes into our daughter's college education. So instead of investing in my daughter, I now have to invest almost 1% of our household income in a jail. To me, that's wrong on so many levels. When we need to be investing in programs to keep people out of jail, to help them, and we need to do a better job. But to pull $15 million a year out of Vigo County, which, by the way, is 80% classified, 80% of the residents are classified as being within poverty. Mm-hmm. You can't do that. It's not fair.
Right.
So that's a big reason why I fought this.
And I think that's where the majority of our community lies as far as when it comes to increasing the taxes to do it.
Right.
However, when it comes to the convention center, on that same poll,
sure,
overwhelming.
They don't want it.
They do not want it.
I voted for it.
You voted for it.
I voted for it. I went to the State House, and I like to think that my testimony helped get this in motion.
Okay.
I won't shy away from it. Here's what I voted for. I voted for the opportunity to get revenue in to help support the arts in a convention center. I was sold a bill of goods And I know that a couple people watching this are going to be really mad at me for saying this right now. I was told that a portion of that money will go towards the arts. We're big into the arts. My family's invested in the arts. We see the value of it. The SWOPE, they need funding. Arts Ileana in this building that we're in right now needs funding. I was told a portion of that money would help fund those entities that would be available, so I'm all for it. This thing, and I'm giving Jay Gumbos, I guess, an ad. I can't even tell you how much I paid for that drink today at lunch. I can't even tell you. But I'll guess, what's a drink now, $2? So $2, my tax on that was 2 cents. When I go out to eat, I have no idea what I'm paying for the food. You know, I recall when I could buy number 2 at McDonald's for $3.35. Right. Now it's $6. I mean, how do we get to that? So it's 6 cents.
I think that's also relative. I agree. It's a relatively small number, but and I've often used this as an analogy. When you want to buy a candy bar and you're in a store, you're going to buy the candy bar or the soda or whatever because
you don't know what it costs.
Right. The whatever price they're charging, whatever the margin is not going to be different enough unless you're at the movie theater, of course. But short of that, for the most part, it's all within a few cents, and you're going to buy it if you want it. Okay. However, if you or I go to buy a motorcycle or something that's a slightly bigger ticket item, okay, you're probably going to shop price on that a little more.
Well, sure, you're spending $9,000.
Sure, so that's a relatively larger number for you and I than a cup of soda.
Okay.
Now you take someone who is, as you said, 85% of Vigo County is at poverty, so 80% at poverty level. So let's say they're at $18,000 annual income. They maybe are shopping price of their food a little more than you might be, or that I might be.
They're not. I mean, I haven't met anybody that does, and I'm not arguing. I'm just saying that from a person that researched this ad nauseum before I went up to testify about this. It's not going to it's not going to affect people like people say this. Online, there's a guy, an acquaintance of mine, that says, well, I'll just go to Rockville and eat their food's better anyway. And so I sent him a private message instead of calling him out online publicly. And I said, hey, look, Rockville's had a food and beverage tax for several years. Go to Rockville, you're going to pay it. Then a sheriff deputy friend of mine says, well, I'm just going to start going over to Paris, Illinois and eat. And I said, well, that's fine. Your sales tax is higher. Plus, they have a food and beverage tax too. Right. And you're going to pay that gas. So the food and beverage tax is not unique. You can see what counties in Indiana have it. A lot of them do. In Putnam County, Greencastle has it. Not Putnam County, it's Greencastle. Mm-hmm. So I'm a gun guy. Okay, I bought guns off you. I buy ammo off of you. When I buy a box of 9mm rounds, what am I paying? $20. Let's say I buy a $20 box of ammo. What's my tax on that?
7%.
Okay. What's the tax on it as the guy that's selling me those rounds?
Well, I pay federal excise tax on it.
Okay. It helps fund the Pittman-Robertson Act. That money is used towards doing what I do for a living. I buy ground for the DNR. We turn it back into public spaces. That's funded by the Pittman-Robertson Act. Money that's generated from ammunition, from weapons sales. There are so many taxes out there, Stephen, that we don't know about.
Sure.
So when we implemented the food and beverage tax, the reason why people were mad, there's a couple of reasons. Number one, nobody knew what the hell it was for. I mean, it was a whip stitched together and boom, next thing you know, it's passed. It went fast, it went too fast. There were not public hearings. The people that wanted this did a poor job of promoting it. And I've addressed that concern to them. That, the reason why I'm taking a lot of arrows now is because you didn't do your part saying this is what this is going to do. There's a lot of concern about who's going to benefit, where it's going, the fact that 2 historic buildings could be torn down. And I need to be careful on that one because I didn't vote, and I made this very clear in my vote during the county council meeting. My vote is for the tax. This is not an endorsement of any project. Absolutely is not. Now, I knew it was going to fund a convention center, and I'm supportive of the convention center, and here's why. I do a lot of public speaking at soil and water events across the state of Indiana. I did one in West Lafayette last November at a facility that was pretty run down. 350, 400 people there. I was the last speaker of the event. If we had a convention center in Terre Haute, that event could easily have been held here because the majority of the people were living between Evansville and Chicago. There's nothing along the whole entire area.
So I think the average citizen is not so much concerned about whether or not we have a convention center. I think their concern is, why are we spending so much to make a convention center? Of course, people have chimed in and said, well, you know, there are buildings currently vacant in Vigo County that are large.
I keep hearing about the Kmart building, but it needs bulldozed.
Well, I mean, it's a block building. I mean, it just needs renovated like anything else. The building,
okay, not bulldoze.
The building we're in is extremely old, but it's still in good use because it's been renovated. So I think concern one that the citizens have, or the community has, is you know, are we spending these tens of millions of dollars? And I don't know if there's been enough information given back. So I think the questions come about, well, who owns the property? Who's going to own the property?
Sure.
Who's going to own the building?
Yep.
And these are legit questions. These are questions that the taxpayers want answers to, and I don't feel that they've been given those answers. And I'm not putting you on the spot because I'm not saying that you're the one that needs to give those answers.
As you and I talked earlier, I have no connections to the developer. I know who he is. We talk, but I'm not part of that program.
Sure.
And we'll leave it at that. What's the convention center going to be? Do you know?
Explain the question.
What's it going to be?
Money-wise?
No. What is it?
Well, I mean, I think the hope of the board is probably that we will host events, not a convention center like Indianapolis' convention center, but a smaller, condensed version that you might host maybe a group of people of 1,000 or less.
Okay. And that's what I understand it is too. It's for 1,000 people or less. And what I'm getting back to my illustration of the West Lafayette deal. If we have a facility that can seat between 400 and 1,000 people comfortably, I think you're going to see a lot of use here. And then the people, it's almost textbook in these discussions. They say, well, why would somebody want to come here? Okay. You're in the gun business. You probably have the coolest gun dealership, neatest gun dealership, best gun dealership within the Midwest. I don't travel to any other one, but you've got an incredible facility. If there is, let's say Sig Sauer wants to have a show for prospective vendors, what a great place to have it. You can have it in Terre Haute, Indiana. You can, with 200-300 guys, industry guys coming in. They could stay downtown, they could eat downtown, but most importantly, then go to your facility and try the guns out because you have a world-class shooting facility here in town.
Sure. I think, and sure, maybe that particular scenario benefits me personally, but the overall appeal needs to be that it benefits the whole community.
Well, it would. I think it would because you're bringing, Booze at Crossroads at 7th and Wabash. They're going to realize some business from that.
Of course.
Jay Gumbo's where I had lunch. ISU, you may be, a person may be coming here and say, wow, this is a really nice campus. My kid's getting ready to go to college. I'm going to check out ISU. The challenge I have, and you and I can live anywhere. We're both talented. We can get the hell out and be successful wherever we go. And we're both fortunate that we can do that. Not everybody can do that. If we don't invest in this community, we're screwed, plain and simple. And you have so many people that get online, and I'm an online guy, as you are, and they bitch and complain that how there's nothing to do here. Well, okay, where does it start?
Sure.
My good friend Joe Hoopengardner had the airboats, okay? I was his first paying customer. Me and Andrew Connor were his first paying customers when he did the airboats. People wrote it. People went out and got to see the beauty of the Wabash River, what I experience almost every day in my job. People came to Terre Haute to ride the airboats. Well, Joe doesn't do it anymore. So We have a convention center here. What a great way to entice somebody to do an airboat business again, because they're going to have people coming in. You're going to have those conventions. People are going to want to do something in the evening. Wow, what can I do? There's airboat rides at the river. Let's go do it. There's a small amusement park right down by Fairbanks Park at the old IP property. Wow, let's go. Hey, I can bring my guns and let's go down to Top Guns and shoot. There's so much to do in this community. So when people say there's nothing to do here, it just makes me so mad, because there is a lot to do here.
And I can agree with you more on that, yes.
And even look at this. Evansville, Chicago. What is there in between? Vincennes, okay. But what a great place to have agriculture conferences. Last week at Ivy Tech, 740 high school kids were at the new ag facility. 740. They spent the day here. FFA, the FFA in Indianapolis, it is so big. Garth Brooks is hosting, or is the concert for Saturday night. Over 50,000 people will be there for the FFA conference. Now we can't host that here. We're not set up for it. But we can host events for 1,000 people at the new convention center that we cannot do now. Religion's big in Vigo County. It's huge. Talking to some people aligned with a large church out on the east side of the county. They told me 2 years ago, if they had a facility to host 1,000 people, they could have a bunch of conferences here. What they're doing now is they're cutting it down and having mini conferences at ISU for up to 300 people. That's all they can house. So,
I mean, we have a church here in town that can accommodate 1,000 people.
For conferences, though.
Right.
You know, they want mobility. They need to be spread out, not just sitting there looking. But it's amazing when you look at the needs of the community. We don't have a place for these people. Tomorrow, the Launch Terre Haute, where we are right now, is having Fail Fest. 150, 160 people are registered. They'll be at the Indiana Theater. Great venue to have it. But a convention center would also be another good venue for stuff like this. Not to take away from what's going on now. I was at a charity event Saturday night at ISU. They did a wonderful job. A couple hundred people there. They could have more people if they had bigger space, but stuff's limited. So yeah, you know, me spending an extra $80 on my $8,000 a year on my family eating out in Vigo County, I'm okay with spending $80 for a convention center. I'm much better than that than spending, you know, $2,000 out of my household income to build a damn jail.
All right, so let's. Now
you're getting me all fired up. Can you tell I'm really angry inside right now?
All right, let's approach this from a different angle. If I'm opening a business,
okay, and you have,
and I have, and I need a loan, the first thing that's required is I go to the bank.
Sure. Business plan.
They're going to want a business plan.
Or was it for the convention center?
They're going to know how am I going to pay for this loan?
Sure.
And I better have my I's dotted, my T's crossed, and I better know what I'm talking about when I walk in. And so, and for me, my process took about 1.5 years to get that loan for the facility I'm in now. The question is, there's really been no proposal as to how the convention center pays for itself.
I agree.
And so how do we justify taking, whether it's 10 million, 40 million, whatever that number is, and what is it, like 20 to 40 million it's going to cost to build the facility?
I have no idea because I haven't seen any plans.
Okay. So what, regardless
I'm not
of
on the CIB board.
Okay. So whatever it is to build this building, how is it we justify, even if it brings some business to Terre Haute,
sure,
if it can't self-sustain, if it cannot pay for itself, ultimately, and where I come from, that is a poor business decision. That is a business decision
you don't do it.
That you just simply don't do.
Sure.
But in this case, it's kind of like, well, we can take the loan from the bank and we're not going to pay it back.
Sure.
So let's go ahead and do it. Well, who wouldn't start a business if that were the case for all of us? We would all start businesses.
I agree.
It is the fact that we understand that failure is very expensive for the person doing it that causes us to weigh out the risk and decide whether or not it's time to take that risk. And so in this particular instance, you know, if we were to look at it as a business, how do we justify how does the council or the board justify taking all these taxpayer dollars, even though it's only, you know, 1%,
And it's what they call a voluntary tax too. It's not being taken out. So that's, I know that you'll have some people watching this say, what the hell is he saying? But you're not paying that tax unless you buy a...
Unless you go out and eat, sure. So even though, but regardless, I'm going to agree with you. I don't think the 1% is going to break any of us. But it doesn't change the fact that it's not just that 1%. We are being taxed here and here and here and here.
The tax stress in this county is unreal.
And so
unreal.
When you add it all up,
it's terrible.
When you add it all up, it's kind of, we have to look at it and say, well, gosh, yeah, that's only 1%. But it's the cumulative that sits there and weighs, the burden weighs on us as a community.
Yep.
And so we as a community are getting to the point where we're saying, look, we've burdened as much, we've shouldered as much as we can shoulder. And unless you can find a way for this thing to self-sustain, we don't want to be the financiers of this.
I agree. I agree with you entirely. Again, I voted for the funding mechanism, not the project.
Sure.
I don't want to do stuff without a business plan. This is another reason why I fought the jail. There is no plan. We don't know where it's going to go, for sure. I know where they want to put it, but I don't even know how much it's going to cost. I don't know what kind of money they're going to put towards mental health or the substance abuse issues we're dealing with. I want money invested in our homeless. We have over 300 homeless people at the last count in Terre Haute. I never thought that would happen. Our priorities are screwed up. Yeah, I voted on a tax that ultimately funded a project without a plan. Well, I'm sure there was a plan in place. Just the public doesn't know about it. I mean, that's business sense. A business person doesn't have to share their plan with the public. But when it's a public project, absolutely. This is what they call a private-public partnership. The government entities, the CIB board, technically, Capital Improvement Board, provides funding for the project. That's the public component. This is the exact same model that's being done everywhere right now. It's not unique. This model is not created to help out one businessman. That businessman has taken advantage of a system that's in place, and I don't blame them. They're doing the exact same program in Bloomington, 40 miles down the road. From what I noticed, the artist rendering and the concept is almost the exact same plan that's being done in Kokomo, Indiana right now. So you can Google the Kokomo Convention Center project and see what I'm talking about. It attaches to a Hilton Garden Inn. And I think it may be the Door brothers that are investing in that also. So that's something for your viewers to look up on their own. But yeah, we are doing something without a plan that the community knows about, but that goes back to me saying 20 minutes ago. They did a terrible job educating the public about this, and they just went ahead and passed the tax. The reason why I voted for it when I did was because there was a timeline there. We had to hit. It had to be voted on the meeting that we did, otherwise it wasn't going to be implemented for 2019. It's just the way that the code's set up. The legislature did us a favor by allowing, the state has to approve it. The state has to approve those tax increases, and then it's up to the county council to move it forward. If the county council shot it down, it wouldn't move forward. But we unanimously voted for it. Again, I did it because I thought it was a good way to fund projects within the community. But now they're calling it the Convention and Arts Center. And so that's the arts component for that. And I personally have some challenges with that. So when I get in the commissioner's office, I'm going to try to find a way to help fund the arts. Arts, to me, it brings money in our community. The Swope Art Museum is one of the finest collections in the Midwest. People travel from afar to come to Swope. If the Swope had more money to market, you would see more people coming in town. That may result in art-related conventions, museum-related conventions at the new convention center. We have the Candles Holocaust Museum, which is a world-recognized facility here. And they're wanting to expand right across the street here in the building that Terre Haute first gave them. Having a convention center here will help that because it'll bring attention. So, back to what I said earlier about these naysayers, people need to stop doing that. It wears me out. When you have people like me that are working our asses off for the best interest of our future, those people are bringing us down. But Mayor Lamb's doing a great job up there, and he's basically calling out the naysayers. Quit it. Let us do it. I don't want to say, let us screw it up, because I don't think we're going to screw it up. We're using taxpayers' money, and that money needs to be used properly. In the last 2 years, you've seen some massive community engagement, and that started with the jail fiasco because it wasn't handled right. That brought people out of the woodwork. When the commissioners announced that they're going to put this jail along the river, that brought even more people out. So you're seeing people that are engaged, and I applaud and admire those people. I'm one of those people, so I ran for office. I got tired of it. You know, I thought being a county council member, I'd really have a voice and some power and get some stuff done. I'll be the first to tell you, I was wrong. You're one of 7 people up there. You're not going to get anything done. County Commissioner's office is a pretty powerful position, so I sought it. It's one of 3 people, but I can get more done. And I'd be glad to show you my list that I've compiled that I want to do the first 2 months. And it's stuff that you probably wouldn't think about, but it's things that I've been thinking about on how we can better this community. So, you know, more like-minded people seeking office, getting involved, voting right. I'm not going to tell anybody how to vote, but you know, there's some new energy in this community. If you're upset with the way things have been going, then you really need to look at why things have gone that way.
You know, and to clarify, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but I want to clarify what you meant a second ago when you said.
It's hard telling what I meant. So.
you had mentioned the naysayers.
Yeah.
I think that, and I don't think this is what you meant, but I could be wrong. I believe that it's good to have people who are challenging to some degree, because that's...
Oh, you absolutely need that. Those aren't the naysayers.
Okay, so you might explain what that is, because I don't want...
The people that say Terre Haute sucks.
Gotcha.
The people that say there's nothing to do here.
So
Thanks for clarifying.
Okay, yeah. It came across as though you were saying people shouldn't challenge how you're spending our money.
Oh, no, do challenge it. I was one of those challengers, you know that.
Right. And that's why I wanted to clarify that.
Hey, this started with me when I challenged my own property taxes in my house, and I was treated like a second-class citizen. I went through the appeals process, I went to that board, and I thought, my God, why am I wasting my time? You're dealing with it now.
Sure.
So I went, I got upset about that and a couple other things. I spoke to South High School kids, 80 of their brightest kids, and you know, I asked them how many of them plan on staying here after they go to college, or if they went to college here, you know, staying here or coming back. Not a single one raised their hand. So that bothered me. And on the way home, I stopped and talked to my dad. And I'm sitting in the driveway venting to him, and he goes, well, what are you going to do about it? I said, I'm going to run for office. He said, don't do it. If anybody knows, I come from a family of public service, 3 generations. And I got my dad saying, don't do it, don't run for office. And he said, yeah, don't do it, because if you get elected, you're stuck here. Whoa! That illustrates the problem. My dad's telling me to get out. Mm-hmm. And he's not telling me to get out because he wants me out of here. He's saying get out because there's no future here. So I got home, I talked to my wife, and I said, I'm going to run for office. I have to make a change. And my wife, man, she's a superstar. She's involved. She's on boards. She helps out. She's like me. She calls it like it is, as uncomfortable as it is, because she wants this community to succeed, just as you do. I mean, look at the investment you made. If we don't succeed, I feel for you, man. You've got a lot invested in your shop and other ventures that you have. So yeah, so it's not, I want the rebel rousers. I love the rebel rousers. I'm a rebel rouser.
Sure.
What I don't want are these people that just simply say Terre Haute sucks over and over, because it doesn't. Vigo County is an awesome place. When you look at our rich history about, 1811, the fort was built, and then we basically built this whole town off the distillery industry and farming. This is really a neat place. In 1906, we were the world's largest producer of whiskey. Corn oil was invented here. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Corn oil invented right here. Birthplace of the Coca-Cola bottle. The Johnson Brothers outboard motors. The first monoplane, single-wing airplane was flown here in Terre Haute, invented here in Terre Haute. It's a pretty badass community. Let's capitalize off of it. Let's get excited about this place and quit bitching and moaning about how there's nothing to do. A person that says that there's nothing to do are the people that aren't going out and doing anything. Go to the library on a Saturday if you got kids. You talk about some cool stuff. So we have a lot of potential here. The food and beverage tax was supposed to help fund activities like that. We'll see if it does.
Who gets to determine who spent or how the food and beverage tax is spent?
The Capital Improvement Board, and that's its own unique thing. I'm not on it. I don't anticipate I'll ever be invited to that table. You know, 2 county commissioners are on it. Yeah, I guess just Google CIB Vigo County members or CIB Terre Haute members. You know, they got rid of it in an ordinance today. I think they eliminated the 2 ISU positions because of that whole issue with the convention center. And there's a lot of misnomers about that. The convention center is a private project. Originally it was an ISU initiative, but that went south. So, and that's, I shouldn't be talking about that other than it went south. So I think that they eliminated today, the county commissioners did the ISU positions. I had to verify it. Something happened in the meeting. But yeah, so it's all controlled by the CIB board.
So the CIB board, which is given taxpayer dollars to spend, I know you need to get going.
Okay.
CIB board is given taxpayers money to spend and appropriate as they see fit. At one point, you're saying had
The food and beverage tax.
food and beverage tax had 2 members from ISU on it,
Yeah, I think they're gone now.
and they're now eliminated.
I think so. I have to verify it.
Gotcha. Okay, so maybe for another sit down. Maybe in the future we can sit down and.
Yeah, if there's a topic that, you know, I appreciate you reaching out to me that this was kind of, hey, let's do this thing.
Yep.
But yeah, if there's something that I need to prepare for and get numbers, and if there's something that your viewers, you know, want to see or hear, I'm incredibly accessible. I mean, my cell phone's out there. It's not, you know, it's not the 234-9000 that we all know of, but it's 812-236-3048.
You want that out there?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's out there. I don't care. I don't answer phone calls I don't recognize because all these spammers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's over the top. If there's a way I can get rid of those spam phone calls, I didn't realize that I owed the IRS so much money. You know that they're filing a lawsuit against me.
Is that right?
That's what they say. You know, I'm filing a lawsuit against you. Okay. And then some guy offered me $200,000 for my business that I don't have. But yeah, so I'm approachable. Which all county officials should be, all office holders should be approachable to a point, you know. But I mean, you and I have talked for hours, and I appreciate it because I appreciate what you're doing. But yeah, we need to be accessible. If people have questions, if there's something they want me to talk about, reach out to me or contact Stephen, and then we can do a segment about it. But I just, you know, I'll prepare for it.
Awesome.
But I guess the main thing is that. I genuinely care, and this is not an me thing, but I care about this community just as you do. And we have to do what's right to make things succeed. I'm my own man. I'm not doing this job to benefit myself. I don't need to. I'm in a pretty good position where I don't need to. I'm not working on behalf of any particular group. I believe in several groups here. I'm not working on behalf of a particular business person's interest. I'm working on behalf of our community's future. And I know that sounds like, you know, BS for somebody running for office, but for me that's not the case. And you know,
and for the record, you've already won, so it's not.
And I won, yeah,
okay.
Yeah. But that's, and there is a level of comfort there. But I'd be saying the exact same stuff now as if I had an opponent. Yeah, I did really well in the last election. And I recognize that in both elections that I've run. And I've done very well, and I recognize that. And I have to keep remembering that the people put me in for a reason. They put me in for a reason because they're tired of the crap that's going on. And the moment that you forget that, I need to be reminded, you know, hey, this is why we elected you. And even the people that didn't vote for me, I still work on their behalf. I don't hold grudges. I had friends that had opponent signs in their yard. Well, they were friends with that person too. It's just how it is.
Sure.
Can't let that eat you up. Not saying it doesn't keep me up at night occasionally, because it does bother you, or bothers me. But I'm going to do what's in the best interest of you. I want your gun shop to succeed, because if I have a moment to where I need to clear my head, I want to walk around your shop, or like I do to go to the motorcycle shop or the bicycle shops. I want you guys to be able to afford to operate your business here. And when we talk about tax stress, you know, if the affluent leave, your business is going to go down.
Sure.
And that's something that I'm cognizant of. So I can keep rambling on and on, but I know we're eating up a lot of bandwidth for your Facebook feed. So.
That's all right. That's all right. So guys, here's what we're going to do. First, we want to thank Brendan Kearns, county councilman currently, but county commissioner-elect, who will be taking office January 1st. We want to thank him for his time and for being so open to our schedule and taking us in and doing the interview. Also, if you've got questions, post them down below, and what we'll do is we'll do our best to maybe hook up with Brendan again. Maybe we can get him to answer some questions for us. If there are things that are too much to type, maybe we'll do another interview, or perhaps he'll hop online and he may just answer some of your questions as well.
Yeah, and on my Kearns for Vigo page, I have 2 social media pages.
Absolutely.
My Brendan Kearns thing, but I don't cross over there.
Sure.
People want to see my pictures. So Kearns for Vigo, and I try to post information on there about council meetings and stuff that I think people need to know about.
So and you even went as far as to live stream one of the meetings.
Oh, I got shot down.
So you will probably be seeing Brendan do a lot more live streams as he goes forward. He's very good with social media.
I shared yours last time, because you're there, you're doing it, so I just shared yours.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And the hope is we will start seeing more of this. And Brendan and I may not agree on 100% of politics, and that's okay. The main goal is transparency here. And so the more video cameras and the more audio files that we get at these meetings, the more transparency we will have. And,
sure.
And I know you are a proponent of that.
Big time.
I'm a proponent of that, and we will do our best to
I just gave everybody my cell phone number. So
right.
Same number I had since 1991.
You might want to rethink that.
No, I'm okay with it.
Guys, thanks as always. Please hit your share button, because that's how we get out there. We are a page that doesn't have any income, so it helps us out when you hit the share button so that the message is getting out there. Take care.